on the stream? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't necessarily have a preference. Maybe just keep it kind of semi PG.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Let's see here. Tweet. Loose lips, pink ships.
Swear the podcast. I can't swear
Whoa.
on the stream. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't necessarily have a preference. Maybe just keep
All
it
right.
kind of semi PG. Where's my volume at? Volume mute.
Keep it semi PG. Yeah. Okay.
Hold on. Why am I getting? Okay, that should kill the audio that we're getting in the reverb there back. Okay, so Holden.
YouTube is freaking out.
Yeah, YouTube is freaking out. Let's see.
It's acting very weird.
Yeah, it is. I was getting some feedback there. If you are in or online watching us, let us know if you can hear us okay. Holden, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm actually going to turn the volume and see if I can hear it all right.
Yeah. I'm doing great. Are you held up in a bunker somewhere? Can you give away your secret location?
I'm in a bomb shelter right now. It's one we built for the family back in the 60s in Cold War scares.
Okay.
And we're using it now for coronavirus, yeah.
That's funny. So that is it's funny, but it's not funny. I apologize. But there are lots of things.
Got to find the humor in everything.
You got to look at the bright side because it could be worse. And granted, there are a lot of things going on in the world, and many people are getting sick. But whatever the case is, there's still got to look at the bright side, like you mentioned.
Yeah, lots of people are recovering, and that's a good thing.
Yes, you're absolutely true on that. So things going on in the world. We talked about this is really this week has been very interesting. A whole bunch of leaks for iOS 14 and kind of like
yeah
right. So the folks at 9 to 5 Mac did like some great, I would call like spelunking, right? They were like got a version of unreleased code and they went through I guess the best of my knowledge, they went through that code and found all these features that are coming in iOS 14, and it's really just kind of a plethora of things that we've all been waiting for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some features I'm like, oh, that's the feature from Android I loved the best, and now I'll never have to ever consider going to an Android phone because that feature is now in iOS.
Yeah, so a lot of great features.
Lots of stuff like that.
A lot of stuff we're like, oh, that sounds so awesome. So I think in today's video, or today's stream actually, let's go ahead and cover, really what those features are and unpack them to, what we think about them and how, how they could look on the iPad, iPhone, whatever the case is, because we'll go through all those devices. Now, I think the thing to underscore here that is even though these features were found in that code, that's no guarantee that Apple will actually release them, whether it's the beta or even when iOS 14 goes to production in September of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's see what we have here. So first thing is we're looking at the rundown. So new hardware keyboards for the iPad. We talked about this. You and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Really, yeah. And it looks like Apple's following through with having new hardware keyboards for the iPad Pro. At least maybe that's what we think it is, the iPad Pro. And there's some type of functionality there for either touchpad and better mouse support.
I think you were very excited, much more excited than I was about that.
I'm a keyboard nerd. Totally a keyboard nerd.
I think one aspect to that makes sense is that it used to be the iPad Pro was the keyboard iPad.
Yes.
And then the iPad Air obviously has a keyboard now for the cheaper price. So it's kind of a way to distinguish the Pro models is kind of maybe having that more sophisticated keyboard for the smart keyboard case.
Yeah, Apple really never, I was looking up, I'm thinking here, they're almost at a point where the feature set from the iPads are really almost identical, except for there's a few key differentiations between the iPad Pro and the other models. But I think it's not unreasonable to think that if they were bringing out new iPad keyboards with the trackpad, that they would also bring out for the iPad Pro, they would also bring out new keyboards for the other iPads. I mean, it just seems maybe like it would be reasonable. I don't know, again, if there's new iPads coming out, maybe they would require some kind of redesign. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously have the considerations there, but I don't know. I feel like the keyboard's probably going to be much more expensive.
Yeah.
For starters. They'll probably want to keep like the iPad Air as like hey, you can use this iPad Air and do some of the similar stuff as the Pro for cheaper. But if you want all the feature sets, you got to pay the big bucks for that. And I don't know if they would want to create another version of an expensive keyboard case to fit the iPad Air specifically when like the smart connector layout is different. So like they'd have to build a specific one for the iPad Air. I think it's a good point though that like why there's nothing hardware wise or software wise that's different about a iPad Air and an iPad Pro. Obviously, like there's the gesture support because the lack of a home button on the Pro, but like for the most part, it's like the same exact experience. So from that perspective, yeah, it makes sense to have the keyboard the same on both. But I do think that they would have to design it specifically for the iPad Air. And are they going to invest the money in that? I don't know.
Yeah, really strange. I think what would be interesting is that maybe this is another differentiating factor for people to move, to create product tension between the iPad Pro and the lower cost iPads. If you want, you have basic keyboard, you have a basic pencil, Apple Pencil, and if you want kind of those advanced features found in the Apple Pencil 2 or this new keyboard with trackpad, you would then move up the product line and get into the iPad Pro. And that actually kind of makes now more sense that you mentioned that.
The other part of it too is, and this is just on me right now. I don't know the size. I've never held an iPad Pro and an iPad Air, the 11-inch Pro to the 10.5-inch Air. I never held them close together before. Are they similar in size? Because that might be consideration too. Like if the iPad Pro is a little bit bigger and it's real estate where it could fit a bigger keyboard and fit a trackpad, it might just have the room for it, and the Air doesn't. I don't know though. That's just me speculating off the top of my head.
So in terms of like physical footprint, the dimensions of the 10.5 and the 11-inch, they're very close. There might be there might be a slight like on the back of the iPad Air 3, the back of it's curved, where on the iPad Air it's more square. Other than that, I think they're very similar in dimensions and weight.
Okay.
Yeah. So who knows?
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Here's a crazy thought. Do you think it might be exclusive to the 12.9-inch? That'd be an odd choice, I think.
I think that would.
But that would definitely have the real estate.
So that would definitely have the real estate. You think that because of the you mentioned just a moment ago, because where the smart connector is, and if they're going to, come out with new keyboards, they probably have to change the hinge mechanism that's there for like right now it's that kind of. It's not a 90-degree angle, but the way that it is today, they'd have to change that to actually become a 90-degree angle and give you more space in the front of the trackpad or in front of the keyboard. That's a good point. Maybe it only comes to the 12.9-inch. But I do.
I'm just gonna look.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So the more I thought about this yesterday, I would think that we're going to follow a very similar timeline. Like if this was coming out in March, whether regardless of the coronavirus or not, I think that the keyboard would not come out in March. Actually, I don't think the iPad would come out in March. I think it's going to come out in June when they announce new iPad OS at WWDC, and that seems to me is more appropriately fitting than having it come out now and having 3 months of kind of this in between time when you don't know the feature set of what it's going to be of what without having that demonstration there.
Yeah, possibly. The other part, I'm looking at my smart keyboard right now. Even looking at that, where's the room for that trackpad?
Yeah,
like I'm actually really curious now where they're even going to fit it.
Yeah,
but I believe the rumors. It makes sense. They last year, I think it was iOS 13 and accessibility. They kind of added that kind of mouse cursor that's like a dot.
Yeah, you're right.
You can keep on the screen. It's like they're moving in that direction. We'll see.
So this is the Bridge Pro keyboard, and you see here there's this big space here, and this is where Bridge is actually adding a trackpad to this version called the Bridge Pro Plus. But there's so much room when you position the keyboard here inside these hinges, because you push it back and you get all this this front space, and you have also now here this dead space here, which you can do that. So I think, to your point, into our earlier comments, they would have to move the keyboard. Oh, sorry, they'd have to redesign the keyboard, in order to have that put there. But I don't think the current set of dock connectors allows for that.
Yeah, and that's where I think that, especially the iPad Air, definitely doesn't have it set up like that. But the Pro does, because the connector is like on the back in the middle.
Yep.
On the back and like the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, wherever the bottom is on an iPad, I guess it's kind of.
Yeah,
there's no real bottom.
There's no real. It's on the same side where the dock connector is.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, well, I guess we'll see. I would, as being a keyboard nerd, I really would like to see something like that. And I think when Apple gets behind they get behind the idea of pushing this out into the ecosystem, really showing other companies, third-party developers, third-party hardware developers, that they can make accessories that are great, and giving them ideas. And I think this will kind of help spur the keyboard landscape, making people adopt keyboards, or I guess maybe use iPads more as real devices.
Yeah.
So we talked about the iPad. There's a whole bunch of other new features. Let's talk about the iPhone. If you had the article within 9 to 5 Mac, talk about Alipay coming to Apple Pay, which is kind of big for all those folks in China. They're the wallpaper service integration. So, I kind of read it two ways, where you can have some app that is able to change your wallpaper on a regular basis, or you can go to them and it will integrate more easily. And then I also saw the Shot on iPhone, where they can go ahead and you can rotate through Shot on photos from the Shot on iPhone program. Did you see that?
I did, yeah. I this is one of the things I'm very, very excited about. It's like a small thing that is it the most important feature? Of course not, but I'm really excited about it because on my Mac, I have it set up where it changes the wallpaper every day based on a folder I have of just different wallpapers. And I'd love to be able to do that on the iPhone. We're like, oh, new day, new wallpaper change is just right there waiting for me.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what they mean by wallpaper service integration. Like, does that mean that there's going to be a section of the App Store dedicated like wallpaper packs? Or does that are they going to show up as folders in the Photos album? Or are they going to be a folder in? So when you go to change your wallpaper in the settings, they kind of have a few different like lists of different wallpapers. Yeah. Like, are they going to break it down like that? Like, what's that going to look like? But I'm excited because I think we can finally see some good live wallpapers on iPhone because they have that capability of the dynamic. And like, for example, on Android, they have that. I guess I don't know. Is it like a time lapse wallpaper almost? Where like it's like they show you like an overhead view of like the beach, and you can see the wave. Yeah. Like it's not time lapse is the wrong word for that because it's not a time lapse. It's like a loop almost.
Yeah, I think it's a time lapse loop. A time lapse loop.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be really great. So I like changing my wallpapers frequently, but I think the problem is that they clutter my photos, right? Because I'll find that wallpaper, I'll download it, and even though it's duplicated in, because the app needs permission to write to your Photos album, they create an album for the name of the app. I would rather just have those kind of segmented and not shown in my photo album, because going through your photo album, especially when you like wallpapers, you get a lot of photos. You're like, oh my God, like screenshots almost. That would be great.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. So that would be cool if you brought up, that would be cool if you can just kind of select like a wallpaper pack or wallpaper provider to change that wallpaper on your device every day or whatever the case is, like wallpaper of the day. So my favorite wallpaper app is the Wally app. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but they have a lot of great stuff on there.
No, never.
Yeah, they have a lot of.
I didn't even know there were wallpaper apps.
Oh yeah.
I'm writing it down.
Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Wally. Walli. Wally.
Okay.
Okay. Now audiograms. I actually couldn't make sense of what an audiogram is. It sounds like it's an accessibility feature.
Let me pull that article again.
Yeah, hold on.
Because now I'm not remembering this one.
Yeah, and I guess while we're audiograms.
Where was?
I think it's.
Is that in the 9 to 5 Mac article?
It should be. Yeah. Let's see here. Open that up. Maybe
I don't see it.
Huh.
I can just use our friend internet and find out.
Audiograms. Standard audiograms measurement. Oh, it looks like it's to aid here for acoustics and audio testing. What is? Whoops. I typed in ISO. It's like International Standards Organization. I'm like, no, iOS. That's not what I wanted.
I found it. So this is from 9 to 5 Mac. More new accessibility features would bring support for the camera to detect hand gestures, while audio accommodations can improve audio tuning over AirPods or EarPods for people with mild to moderate hearing loss. It doesn't mention audiogram specifically, but it sounds like that's what it could be referenced to. Another thing that I saw, I think this is on Mac Rumors, because Mac Rumors is a really good breakdown of like all the iOS 14
Yep.
rumored features. And they'd mentioned that there was features for the hearing impaired. So like if your HomeKit connected fire alarm goes off or the HomeKit connected doorbell rings, you'll kind of get that ping on your phone or Apple Watch.
Okay. That's interesting. So it's almost like a syncing, where it's a sync tone between whatever the source is and the destination device. So, there's something like that today that they have on the Apple TV, where you can go into the Apple TV, into the settings, and say you want to check the delay between what's being output by the Apple TV and what you're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
It's in iOS 13 today. I wonder if this is kind of the evolution of that. That's interesting. I didn't know about that.
That is interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the app list view, so right now we have the traditional kind of the traditional iOS context where it's like 6 rows down and 5 across or 4 across, and on the Apple Watch you can change the app view from the round dock, or not the dock, but the round app view to a list view, and that sounds like it would be bringing the list view into the iPhone. I don't know. This is actually a pretty good. What's that noise? This is actually a pretty good feature.
Someone's calling?
I don't know. Do you hear that?
Yeah, I do. I hear it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's on your end because all my devices are on my desk and none of them are ringing, so.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, this list view thing. So on the Apple Watch, I still use the kind of galaxy design, like with all the little circles. I like that look more. I think I can see more on the screen at once. I can find my apps faster that way. This is one where obviously this is going to appeal to a lot of people. For me personally, I can't picture it. What does this look like? Is it like on the Apple Watch where it's just like a black background and a list? Or is there wallpaper even be visible in this mode? And they've talked about like other aspects to it too, like where it can filter the list or resort the list based off of looking for recently used apps or apps with unread notifications, which all sounds cool and all, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would use that. I also have a hard time picturing what that looks like.
Yeah. No, I know.
It's also, and then I think this is kind of funny. All the rumors of like widgets are finally coming to iPhone. They're going to get rid of just the rows of icons. It's been like a rumor every year, I feel like, and then it never actually happens. And what might actually happen is almost like not regressive, but like going to a list view is like the opposite of like going into widgets. It's just kind of funny how like everyone wants them to zag and they zig instead.
Yeah. So this was someone tweeted this on Twitter, that having the Apple Watch, like I don't use my Apple Watch as a proxy for not having my iPhone, and I don't have all of my notifications being filtered to my watch, only because it's super annoying. Like I don't want my watch, interrupting what I'm doing every 30 seconds for a tweet or whatever the case is. It would be really cool if there were glanceable information on the iPhone lock screen, very similar to what you see on the Apple Watch, like a complication, but only for information that like is found too many levels deep on the iPhone, or it's not easily consumable. Like that would be really nice. I hope that we get that like on the lock screen, but based on what I read as well, I don't know if that's actually going to be possible.
Yeah, and I think that if they're going towards list view and they're kind of adopting things from the Apple Watch, then I can see them going to having some complications on the lock screen. I would love to have, like, just looking at the lock screen and being like, it's 47 degrees outside right now.
Yes.
Awesome.
So
I just want like something very simple like that. Or I don't know. Would I want unlocking my house door on the lock screen? Probably not.
Yeah. So like, on the iPhone today, you cannot unlock your iPhone unlock your house with like a HomeKit unless you authenticate via Face ID or Touch ID. So even if that was on the lock screen, that would be great, but it wouldn't. You still have to do the authentication part, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
I think
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
I'm curious if people in listening are would use list view or not, if they think they would. I'm curious if they would.
Yeah. So if you are in the chat, let us know how you feel about list view and whether or not you would consider yourself using it, maybe more so as, however you use it today. Like I am the type of person who, if I'm going to look for an app, if it's not if it's not on my first two screens, I'm pulling down and using the search screen to find it and then launching it from there. That's how I use the phone, only because I have like 150 apps on my phone. But yeah, the list view may or may not actually, I think I like it. So there's this whole thing where I think I'm going to like something, I get it, and then I don't like it at all because it's not really the way that I thought it was going to be. Right now I'm at the point where I think I could like it.
What if they integrate it? I just had this thought. What if they integrate it where, like, here's my phone screen, and you can pull down and you get like the search, right?
Yep. What
if they just build the list view right there?
Oh, that would be.
You just pull down and then there's your list view, and then when you start to search for things, it will pull up. It'll then filter that list. Or if the search query you're going for has nothing to do with your apps, like it's like downloading apps you don't have, it shows the traditional links that it will show in the search suggestions.
Yeah, like
that'd be a simple way of doing it.
That would be a simple way. Like if you pull down and maybe let's say you're looking for Chase Bank and you type in CH, it starts showing you all the apps that have CH in them, and then as that would be kind of like fuzzy search, and then as you get closer to it, it actually gives you better results.
Yeah,
I like that. It's a good suggestion. Let's type in apple.com/feedback, and we're going to drop that in you for.
They actually do look at that though. Like we joke, but that's actually something they look at.
Yeah.
Whether they take it seriously or not is a different story.
Yeah. Whether they all snicker and laugh while they read it, saying, "What is this person talking about?" No, I don't think.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of suggestions they get where like, I don't know what this person's even saying.
Yeah, that is funny. So, in terms of the other features for the iPhone, I didn't see anything that really kind of stood out to me in terms of like, wow, that's a great feature. I wish that they would have had it. Anything else that you saw?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I was looking at the Mac members list, there was one feature where I'm like, yes, this needs to happen. So excited if this is true, and that is being able to change default apps.
Oh yeah, you're right. I totally forgot about that.
I won't even bother using a lot of third-party apps because why would I use? I don't use Gmail to begin with, really. But like, for example, the Gmail app. Why would I bother to use the Gmail app if it's not ingrained in the system? Like if I go to the Contacts app and I say email this person and it opens up the app I don't use, that gets kind of frustrating. Oh man, that'd be so great if they could do that. Like having a different reminders application. I use an app called Agenda. I don't use the reminders app. I prefer Agenda. If they could integrate Agenda into iOS by default app support on the iOS level, that would be huge. I'm so on board for that.
So
there's another one too.
What I guess. So for you use the Mail app, it sounds like.
I do use the Mail app, yeah, but it's mostly because it's the default one, and if I, click on some sort of prompt or quick link to send an email or compose an email, I'd rather just go to the app that I'm. How do I phrase this? I like some of my words there. So like, I only use it because I have to because it's the default app. I would probably experiment with other third-party mail apps if I could use those third parties as the default. That's the easier way of saying what I was trying to say.
Okay. Yep. So if you had the option to change the default app from whatever, from Maps to Google Maps or whatever the case is, you probably experiment more and check out more apps. And it's actually
Absolutely.
That's actually kind of good for Apple in the sense that it does promote people, one, in the App Store, two, searching for apps, and three, experimenting with other apps. So if they find something they don't like, they can always get a different app. More so than they do today. So I do think it's a very good thing. What I'm really wondering about is that so all of the web, browser apps that are in iOS today, they all use WebKit as their framework to go ahead and process all that web traffic. What would that mean for like Chrome? How would they do that? I'm just wondering, would Chrome still continue to use WebKit as the underlying framework, or would they allow these browser apps like Chrome or Bing or whatever the new version of Bing is called, Firefox, to go ahead and do, to use their own frameworks, or would they still continue to require them to use this framework?
I'm going to assume that it's going to be a baby step approach.
Yeah.
So, we'll let them use their default app I'll let them use Chrome as a default browser. but it's still got to use WebKit. And then like maybe in like 10 more years,
10 more,
they'll let up on that.
Yeah, that you're right. It's about incremental, small, tiny steps. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So that was a good.
Here's another one.
Go ahead.
That's good. Is iMessage updates. And here's some practical ones.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the times, like their new features are like it's a goat memoji now, or an emoji now. But well, they'll do that. They'll say, hey, we have a whole new slew of animojis. But like they have one now where if you're in group chats, you can @ somebody.
Yeah.
And the benefit, this is, I mean, it's a rumor, but the benefit there would be if you put a group discussion on do not disturb, because just you can't text at that moment and your watch is just pinging nonstop. If someone @ you, it'll bypass the do not disturb and let you know about it.
Yep.
That's kind of nice.
So you remember that whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to touch my mic. That functionality exists on the Mac today. Remember I showed it to you and Daniel? So
oh yeah, that's right.
So if you go into the Mac and you type in @ you'll get a list of recipients that are in that message chat, assuming that it has to be an iMessage chat, it can't be a text. And then it'll pre-populate. You could then send them a message. And I think that there is a config in iMessage to say, alert me when someone mentions my name. So that it would almost be like feature making, taking the feature from the Mac and bringing it down to iOS.
So it sounds very likely it's going to happen.
Yeah,
then.
it does.
The Mac can already do it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The other one is retracting messages.
Yes.
So you can send a message, then like just pull it back, but it will still say like message retracted.
Yes.
So like they'll know you sent them something.
Yep.
That's a good one. My brother, oh my god, I have two brothers. They're 8 and 14, and the 8-year-old, I guess, sent me a message that was intended for my dad, and there's nothing like bad about the message at all. It was just like, what's for dinner tonight kind of thing. But he was so embarrassed and so humiliated, and he thought that if you deleted it, that it would go away on my phone too.
Nope.
So he would love to have that feature. And then the last one, and there's more iMessage features that are rumored, but the last one that I think is good is marking messages as unread, which then I think assumes you could then mark them as read as well.
Yeah.
So like kind of going back and forth, I like that a lot. Basically how it would work is you just slide, when you're on the list view of the conversation list.
Yep.
You can just swipe from the left to the right, and it will just mark it as unread or read, just like it does in the Mail app. I would love to have that.
So you can mark a message as read from this view here today by holding down and 3D touching. The first option is mark as read, so maybe that would be mark as unread. I don't want to show you the message there, but
Can you send me a text? Actually, I want to try that out.
Yeah, you actually told me about this.
Actually,
hello.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Oh, hello. You told me and Daniel about it. See, I have like a mind.
Oh, I
go ahead.
I didn't know that unread was in there though.
No, unread is not.
It's not there for me.
Well,
I mean, the red is in there. Yeah, I don't see red at all.
No, wait. So hold on. Oh no. So go into the message thread. Go into messages.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the top message thread is me and you, right?
Yeah.
And is it read or unread? Here, I'll
Oh, I see now. I see now. Don't hold on the face. Hold on the middle of the message.
Yes, sorry about that.
Okay, I got you now. That I did not know was there.
Oh, I thought you...
Because I don't really use that too much.
Oh,
I usually just hold down on the face to like do things like call the person or whatever.
Okay. So maybe this is a contextual option to mark as unread. That would be great because sometimes I'd like to be notified, or not to be notified, be reminded that I was supposed to do something and I like to leave the message unread. But kind of, it's like a reminder, like a flag.
Yeah. I'm a notoriously bad texter. I constantly will get a message from someone and they'd be like, okay, I'll respond to this in 1 second, but I have to do this first. And I do that and then completely forget. But I already read the message.
Yeah.
So I don't have a notification saying you need to look at this. If I could just like mark it as unread, that way I know I can go back to that and respond to that. It would literally change my life.
Yeah, so I thought there was a feature. It might have been like iOS 10 or 11. I'm not sure what the version was. That you could take it's not a screenshot, but you would say, "Hey Shlomo, remind me of this later on," and she would take she takes a contextual screenshot of this and he puts it in your reminders saying, "Okay, I'll remind you this when you get home or at 9 o'clock tonight." It worked for some things, but I guess it doesn't work for that for messages. Hold on.
I never had a lot of success with that. For a second, I'm like, who's slow-mo? I'm like, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to alert everyone's phones who's listening. Hold on. Remind me of this later on. Oh, yeah, it actually does.
It does? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it says reminders, and then it says Holden. And then it actually has a link to the thread. Oh, yeah. That is interesting. I don't think it did that before. I thought it was a screenshot. Well, that's a neat feature. Thank you, Apple. Yeah. So that is
iOS 14 rumors and features we didn't know were already there.
We didn't even know we're live doing this right now here on the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Cupcake Lover. We love you guys. Let's see here. In the chat. Any other features that you saw or rumors that you saw for iOS 14 for the iPhone that you want to talk about?
Sleep tracking.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
It's more of an Apple Watch thing, but yeah, that was rumored to be on the Apple Watch Series 5, and then it didn't pan out. I'm very excited about this one. I'm still confused though, because the rumors they phrase it in a way that makes it seem like it's only going to be available on hardware that supports it. In other words, like a new Apple Watch with sleep tracking hardware. Yep. But I don't know why that would be the case, because it's not all the sensors that are required for sleep tracking, I feel like, are already on the Apple Watch. So I guess I'd be surprised. And some rumors have said it is going to come to all Apple Watches.
Yep.
It's kind of gone back and forth, but I want that so badly.
Yeah. So my wife downloaded a app for sleep tracking, and the alarm went off like at 6:30 the other day, and she wasn't in the room, so I had to get up and turn it off. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Where are you? Why aren't you answering this? But that's besides the point. So when I unlocked her phone to turn off the alarm, because it's actually behind the lock screen, what the app does is it actually records the background noise, like to gauge your sleeping. And I was like, oh wow, I'm really surprised that people allow that to happen, and that they find it acceptable as a trade-off. Monitor my sleep before listening to what's going on in the location that I'm at. So this probably seems like an area that is ripe for Apple to come in and kind of tighten up the controls, and like you said, give sleep tracking to the people or to people, and allow it to kind of make more meaningful observations and use for that data.
Yeah. I've been trying I really want a good sleep tracking app. I used to have the Jawbone Up band. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah,
that had built-in sleep tracking. It was a great device, except it broke all the time.
Yeah.
At least mine did. I had like 4 of them just through warranty swaps because it broke all the time. But anyway, it had a really good sleep tracking functionality and a really good smart alarm to wake you up in like a half-hour period when you're in a good period of light sleep.
Yeah.
I liked that feature a lot, but I just can't find one on Apple Watch that works well for me. It's either a shitty app. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse, but it's either a crappy app that's that's just it looks poor, its user interface is just not that strong, or it's kind of confusing to implement, and I don't care for it. My dream is that what happens is on the Apple Watch you have the control center where you just swipe up. Oh, locking it. And I just want where the theater icon is, the do not disturb icon, there's just a sleep icon. And you just tap on that. It automatically dims the screen out so it's not always on. It turns on do not disturb and then turns on the sleep tracking functions. That would be ideal for me.
Yeah, that sounds like it's something that's integrated into the control center, easy to turn on, turn off. I guess what maybe kind of a question, how do they deal with battery life?
It's actually not that bad. So when I use any sleep tracking app, it generally only uses up about 10% of battery.
Okay.
And I have a Series 5, so if you have a Series 4, you'll probably do even better than that. But I've never had a problem with that. I generally charge it before I go to bed at night, and then I just charge it again the next night. I don't even have to charge it in the morning, although sometimes I will while I'm in the shower.
Okay.
But it's not that bad. I don't think it's actually that strenuous on the Apple Watch to do sleep tracking, which is why I'm concerned that they might keep it on a new Apple Watch as opposed to one I already have, because I'm it already kind of works in terms of processing and all that kind of stuff pretty well.
Yeah.
On the Apple Watch. It's just the feature set in the apps I don't like, and I think Apple can work better on that, or the implementation, I should say, of the apps.
You know,
I don't like.
so the one thing where I wish that they could do the night mode a little bit better, whereas if you are, I'm just looking at my watch right now. Um,
Mhm.
so every night I put my son to sleep. I put my phone in silent mode for an hour, and when you go into silent mode, it says on for 1 hour. That's on for 1 hour, or until this evening or till I leave. So I always put it on for 1 hour, but I want to, when you turn on the do not disturb mode, it stays on after you come out of the silence all mode. And I wish that could be timed as well. Like I could have my phone go into like all those things were kind of synced up in terms of the duration that it would be on. So
Yeah.
if I turn it on until I leave home, then turn all three of these things on. If I turn it on for only 60 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever the case is, do all three of those for 30 minutes. Don't, because I forget, and sometimes I'm like, why am I not getting any notifications on my watch? And like I hear my phone beeping upstairs. I'm like, oh, I'm a dummy. I left this feature turned on. Like I should not have. And yeah, that's kind of annoying. One of the things that we're talking about Apple Watch, and I don't know how
Mhm.
many people that you know or like in your kind of circle that have Apple Watches. But one of the things that's probably frustrating is that you can't change the alert tone for the Apple Watch. I know my friend Steve talks about this all the time, where if
Yep.
you might be sitting in a room with like 3 or 4 people that have an Apple Watch, you hear it go off, you're like, oh, is that my watch? And like everyone's like looking at their watch, like I just want to change the alert tone. Let me do that. Come on. But that would be great if they allowed us to do that.
I would like different tap tones for different apps or different contacts. That's what I would like.
Yeah.
I always keep the Apple Watch on silent just because I'll feel the tap. I
Okay.
don't need anyone else to know I got a notification. Only I need to know.
Yep.
It's my watch, my personal watch. I don't need anyone else to know what's going on my watch.
That's my watch. So when you say silent,
Exactly.
that means there's no audible tones, but it does give you the taps when you get a notification, right? That's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
And that is that's the bell with
The bell icon.
Yep.
Yeah, with the line through it. Yeah.
So interesting. Some people have. I know my boss has this. He gets different text message vibration tones for certain people in his phone book. When they message tones when he gets that. So you could set up customized vibration tones in iOS if you're not aware of that. But
Yes, you can.
when he gets it on his watch, there's no differentiation there. So he doesn't really know if he's getting a text from, let's say, his mom, who he set up a custom tone for, or his, a two-factor authentication code. I guess there would be greater visibility in that. And that would be great if you could add customized tap tones for SMS notifications.
Especially since both the iPhone and Apple Watch use the Taptic engine.
Yes.
I'm sure it's tailored a little bit. It's not exactly the same piece of hardware, but
Yeah.
it's the same concept. I can't imagine it'd be that hard to just implement it on Apple Watch.
Yeah, maybe it's like a battery concern where you drain the that you're going to drain the battery more often because you're activating the Taptic engine more often, right? Because you're doing a customized tone.
Possibly, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the constraints are, but it would be great if that worked.
Yeah.
Apple, if you're
There has to be some level of control there already, because now that I think about it, some apps do feel a little bit different,
yep.
where I kind of can tell, like, oh, I think that's this app, but it's not distinct quite enough that I know for sure.
Yeah.
So it kind of does that.
Yeah, that would be great. So we kind of jumped from iPhone to Apple Watch. Anything else in terms of the iPhone or Apple Watch, or actually iPhone, before we go on to the Apple Watch?
I think that is all I have to say about iOS 14.
Cool. Well, so for Watch OS, what seems really interesting is Apple Watch for kids, right? So then now they've removed this dependence of, at least kind of initially, removing the dependence of using your Apple Watch when it's tied to an iPhone. So now you don't have to do that. Now it sounds like you'll be able to activate an Apple Watch for a child, and it's not tied to your iPhone. Who knows what it's going to be tied for? Or maybe it's just going to be using it's a standalone watch. But that is actually kind of cool if you were able to walkie-talkie your family, like if you're at Disney or something like that, or when you're out. Obviously, I don't think, maybe it might not be a cellular watch. Could be though, I guess. That would just seem, again, something interesting because that is a completely, I think, untapped and underserved market when you think about communication devices tailored for kids. I know there's some things that are made for kids, but they're usually kind of crappy experiences.
It's like the Firefly phone. Remember the Firefly phone?
Yeah. For
the AT&T phone for kids. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, and then there was another phone that was tailored for for seniors, right? It had kind of very basic display, like big buttons, like a big red button and a big green button if you want to make a call. If they wouldn't.
Yeah.
I told my parents like one time, I'm like, don't be mean to me. I'll get you a Firefly phone. Or whatever it was. I'll take away your iPhone and give you this.
Um, with the Apple Watch is also with kids. This is anecdotal, but it's kind of like a cool factor. Like any other Apple product, there's a cool factor to it.
Yeah.
The 8-year-old brother. I'm just not gonna mention his name just because he's 8. I don't know if I want to mention his name online. So he at school is saying that a lot of people, the kids, just their parents broken Apple Watches. Like Apple Watches don't really work anymore, or they're hand-me-downs. They're not even like they're broken, like physically broken.
Yeah.
But like maybe they don't power on anymore, or something like that. Or it's like an Apple Watch that they don't use, the parent doesn't use anymore, and it's not even connected to a phone. They literally just wear an Apple Watch to wear an Apple Watch. So like there's at least if that anecdotal evidence is indicative of a larger trend, there's definitely an untapped market of like kids who want to have Apple Watches.
Yeah.
Actually, I have an old Apple Watch. I need to send my brother for that exact reason. My dad's like, "Can you send it to him, please?"
Yeah. So that's a good point there. I'd like to see, unfortunately, I don't know many children or many young children like that age, but I would like to see what that is because I have some cousins that would know. But I don't really see that many people. Maybe it's that in between age, like 10 or 12 or older, between like 16 and 17 on the high end, where they're just not wearing watches that often. So I don't know. It is interesting point nonetheless. Yeah.
I think it's that they don't wear watches, but like Apple Watch is different.
Yeah.
Like people who don't wear glasses when augmented reality glasses start becoming a thing, people who don't wear glasses will probably start wearing glasses. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, it's a good point.
Because it's not just glasses. It's not just a watch. It's an Apple Watch.
It's an Apple Watch.
It's very different.
So I guess if they, I don't know if I can really see. Sorry, I'm like mumbling my words there. I don't know if I could really see Apple coming out with a Apple Watch specifically designed for kids. Right? It's probably like in the activation of it that makes it a kid-centric watch. Right?
One thing that I agree, I can't see Apple making anything that's like the kid iPhone or the kid iPad. Like you just get an iPad, you get an iPhone. But I have thought about like, why don't they have Apple Watch that comes in colors? Like the iPhone 11 of Apple Watches, where it's maybe aluminum or maybe it's plastic, like a 5C plastic. It just comes in an array of colors that could be cheaper to appeal to that younger audience. I don't know why they haven't done that yet.
So usually what in terms of marketing and getting broader appeal, once the market is kind of highly saturated and you want to commoditize your product even further, you do that by kind of introducing more colors. They don't necessarily have to compete with anybody, right? And they don't need to differentiate their product because the Apple Watch is really the only, smartwatch fitness tracker that's really usable on the market. So I don't think it's until we see like real competition on that low end where they would actually have to do that.
That's a really good point. I'm honestly amazed that Android Wear has not taken off, because it's not like fitness bands aren't popular even on Android. They are, but Wear OS just cannot compete. I think for a while, like Qualcomm wasn't even really making processors for Android Wear devices, and just last year they just released a new one after like I can't remember the period of the delay, but of the hiatus, but it was a while. So hopefully we start seeing something.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 years, I think, that they were still using that old processor. So that is interesting. So the other thing here that 9to5Mac was reporting was, shareable watch faces and the tachometer for the watch face. Now, so that's kind of tied together. So the tachometer is that ring that you can turn on like a real fancy watches. But how is that implemented on a square face? Right. So the tachometer is that.
Yeah, I've no idea.
So I guess the one thing what I didn't take away from this is it possible that they're changing the shape of the Apple Watch?
I don't know. A rounded device would be harder to code for and to develop for. Like, rather than thinking about XY axis, you'd be thinking more about like a unit circle, I guess.
Okay.
But I think it would get really messy. I don't know.
Okay.
I honestly have no idea.
Okay. So I do think that's interesting during the tachometer. You talked about sleep tracking. Now, the other thing which is on here is the guided workout. So I think that's a really big opportunity
Yeah.
Getting guided workouts. So how often do you go to the gym? And I think it intersects with Gym Kit, very nicely. But you go to the gym, you use your watch, you activate that your workout, and you get this kind of like personalized, but this video of how to go through the actions of doing that workout. That is really cool.
Absolutely. There's definitely a market for that too. The
Yeah.
was it Nintendo released Ring Fit Adventure last year?
Okay.
Which is like a at-home exercise but gamified through Nintendo.
Yeah.
And it has like this like ring accessory it comes with, and it has been flying off the shelves.
Really?
A lot of that thing is because of coronavirus and people want to work out at home.
Nice.
But excuse me. But yeah, it works really well, and I think Apple would have better support for things like tracking your heart rate while you're working out and things like that to make it useful, as long as they're dedicated to it and it's robust enough.
Yeah. So I joined a new gym I joined a gym very recently, and it's a new gym in terms of when it was built. They don't have any gym kit equipment there, and I was like, oh, do you? Like that to me, I thought would be very interesting. One, because I'm kind of very curious about it, but I think that's just really a way to lock people into not just the watch as an ecosystem or iOS as an ecosystem, but also the gym, right? Because you'd never want to go to another gym again because you have this kind of frictionless sharing or application of your watch with the gym equipment, and it makes everything easier. I'm really surprised that more people or more gyms have not got on that.
Yeah, because that's geez, was it iOS 4 or so? Like WatchOS 4, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been around for a little while too.
Yeah.
And my gym near me just updated all their equipment, and absolutely none of it works with WatchOS.
Yeah.
None of it.
Let's see here. Anything else on Apple Watch that you want to talk through?
I just want that sleep tracking to support my Series 5. That's all.
Yeah, right.
That's all I want.
That's all I want. Just give me that, guys. Just give me that. Okay, let's see here. So let's go to HomeKit. HomeKit, where I think that probably that has the most room to grow, right? It's kind of the most, the newest one. So
Yeah.
HomeKit night shift for lights. So if you have, hue enabled lights, or maybe not just hue light, but lights that are programmable, this will go ahead and change the color temperature of the lights over the course of the day, which is really neat. HomeKit camera support, where if you were walking a room, if you have a HomeKit camera, it'll recognize who the person is and possibly change the scene in that room to something like their preference. That is really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And using the HomePod as speakers. Today, speakers, that didn't make sense. Using the HomePod, you can use the speakers today, Mike. So today you can connect your HomePod to your Apple TV, but so I look that way because that's where my Apple TV is. I'm like, anytime that you change the audio source or you replay music, it breaks that connection with the HomePod, and you have to go through the process of selecting the audio source. So it's kind of not kludgy, but it's not as clean as it should be.
It's not very Apple-like.
It's not very Apple-like. Okay, that's a good way of saying it. Now, do you have a lot of experience with HomeKit?
So actually, I just got Philips Hue lights a few months ago,
Nice.
and then this week I got an August lock for the front door.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's the most HomeKit I've ever done.
Okay.
And it feels good. I actually really, really like having that August lock. It's better than I thought it would be.
Yeah. It does work very well. I don't know which. Like, I have one that's probably a year and a half old at this point, where sometimes if I leave my door open for too long, the lock will engage with the door open, and then I go to close it and I don't realize that the deadbolt's sticking out. Then it hits the door frame. It's like, oh my god! And it happens so often. But regardless, one of the things that I just recently activated is that what's the name of my Eero came out with support for HomeKit secure networking. So basically, you add your routers as a HomeKit device. They appear in the Home app, and all of the HomeKit accessory traffic gets routed through Eero, and you can have these different levels of access control in the app to go ahead and say, I only want my Hue lights to be kind of unrestricted when they talk to the internet. I want my Belkin, light switch to be in my home network only. So it gives you this kind of fine granular control. Think of like an access control list or like a firewall, basically. That is actually really cool.
Mhm. Absolutely. And the security also is just a big deal with HomeKit. I don't think it's been adopted as much as Apple and other companies would have wanted.
No.
Because it's been, again, well, it's been around for a long time, and I feel like security might be one of the reasons people may not feel safe. Putting a smart lock on their front door.
Yeah. I
did, but I think that might be a factor. Not so much with the Philips Hue. Philips Hue, I think, has been very, very successful. So I think making a big push for security with HomeKit's a good idea.
Yeah. And more HomeKit compatible security cameras, because I think there's only a few, maybe like 3 or 4 right now. I have the Logitech one, if I'm not mistaken, and it works well. Let's see here. Okay, so that I think that ends the rumors for everything that came out of Mac. Out of 9 to 5 Mac, right?
Yeah.
So I guess let's switch topics and maybe let's go to WWDC. So we learned yesterday that WWDC will not be held, as it always is, in person at the McHenry Center in the first week of June, and that they're going to be online only because of recent kind of world events with coronavirus and everything going on. Smart move, right? Obviously, everyone and their mother kind of is canceling their events. I really wonder how, what the temperature is going to be of the event and how people are going to kind of internalize that, because it's hard to do, right?
Absolutely, it's a big change, and they're doing it pretty quickly too.
Yeah.
Obviously, they weren't planning. They probably plan out WWDC events well in advance. And this is probably having to change things sooner than they would have wanted to, or later than they would have wanted.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited though. I think this sounds great. The digital only event. There's 2 parts of WWDC. There is the presentation that most people pay attention to.
Yep.
And then there's all the developer related keynotes, essentially, or discussions where they talk about new features of iOS specifically for developers. In terms of just the presentation, I'm really hoping it has that product video feel from Apple, where it's basically a 2-hour Johnny Ive talking about how magical the product is. Even though it won't be Johnny Ive, but talking about how they'll have him in the white background talking about the product. If that's the vibe of WWDC, I am on board.
Have you ever been to WWDC?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So I was at the event, not 2019, 2018, first event, or my first time there. It is really cool, like you described. It's just a great sense of energy and a lot of things going on, and everyone is super, super freaking excited to be there. And it's just Tim's there, Craig's there, everything. I wonder how they will kind of instill that same sense of excitement in developers with it being a virtual event. I think it's just kind of, it's a reality of where we're at, but I think it'll be interesting to watch that.
Yeah, absolutely. The other part of it too is live demonstration is kind of been the hallmark of an Apple event.
Yeah.
We're going to show this feature working live on stage in front of you right now. How are they going to do that? Is this going to be a live stream of a presentation, or is this going to be a product video, where it's I don't know if you watch the Nintendo Directs, but Nintendo always has these pre-made videos that are just stringing trailers together, essentially, with little introductions between each trailer. Yep. For a game. Are they going to kind of do it like that? Where hey, here's Craig Federighi. He's just talking to you directly from the screen in a pre-recorded segment, and then that's going to cut to a little trailer for a new feature of iOS. That's what I'm kind of curious of how they're going to handle that live element. If it's going to be that kind of pre-recorded video format, or if they are going to stream this live and still do it on stage at the Steve Jobs Theater, but no one's in the audience. I have no idea.
Yeah,
but I'm excited for it. I'm curious to see what they're going to do.
Yeah. Again, it's a new reality, right? We all have to deal with. I think it's probably going to be the latter, where they're in their auditorium, they're presenting to maybe just a few small group of people, right? I have people clap, and and so I thought about the developer sessions where, so if you're not familiar with WWDC, you have as an attendee, you can go and talk to Apple engineers and say, hey, here's my code, tell me what I'm doing wrong, or kind of get help along the way of with that coding process. It sounds like they're going to have some type of support or chat available with these engineers. Maybe it's like a FaceTime session. I have no idea, but I think there will be people there, and there will at least be some degree of Apple employees available there in the audience to watch the presentation and hopefully help if anything goes wrong.
Yeah. Those will definitely have to be some sort of like WebEx style event.
Yeah.
Though they'll have to do those that way.
But they'll never.
But they can reach a lot more people though, which is I think a good thing. It's hard to get to WWDC.
Oh yeah.
There's limited availability and it's expensive.
Yes, and like
that's.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I
would say, you're right. It's limited availability. You have to really basically win the lottery to be able to attend. And then once you are lucky enough to win the lottery, it's a significant amount of money to go there, right? You have to pay, it's a week long. You have to pay for airfare, hotel, food. They do provide breakfast, lunch, and I think snacks along the way. But still, outside of that, you still have to pay for your own meals. It's expensive.
Do you get to eat at Cafe Max when you go to WWDC?
No, so it's at the convention center.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, so you don't get to eat at Cafe Max.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I don't know if they could handle the number of people because it's like 5,000 people.
That's a good point. Yeah, Cafe Max. A few Cafe Max.
Yeah.
But not enough. I don't know. They support more than 5,000 employees.
True. I guess you're right. Yeah, I guess you're right. So I guess nothing else on WWDC, because now we know, when we talked about it originally at the beginning of the week, we didn't know what they were going to do about WWDC, but now that's all, at least it's partially fleshed out because we know that they're doing it online. We'll get more information between now and basically June on what it will look like.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. And really, I mean, Corona, so to speak more broadly, all of these events have been canceled in one way or the other. GDC, Google I/O. I think you said E3 is canceled. Disney is shut down. I mean, everything is kind of shut down, and people are learning how to, work around what is again the current reality.
Yeah. And a lot of it's digital events. I know GDC is canceled, but Microsoft is still going to hold the event they were going to hold, but they're just going to do it in a digital format instead. We're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff because companies still have things to announce. They're not going to not announce things.
Yeah.
They just have to find new ways of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how that plays out, but it's definitely taken its toll. I have a friend who works in an event planning company who would take E3, for example. Like his company might be the company that goes to E3 and sets up like the Nintendo booth and all those different booths at E3.
Yep.
Because usually a third party company handles all that. Not necessarily Nintendo itself.
Yeah.
And his company's like, we don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Because that's their entire business is this event.
Right. I was talking to my wife, and she works in the financial services industry, and there's so many events that they had planned between now and September that are just canceled because of what's going on in the world. So I mean, it makes sense, right? Obviously, but it's unfortunate. Some of the fallout from that will be people like your friend here who works in kind of not in the industry itself, but adjacent to the industry, and they help support it. And where you'll see, again, it's unfortunate when you see people lose their jobs or be impacted by that.
And something I hadn't even considered, but I'm people who don't know who I am. I do a video game podcast called Respawn and Fire, so most of my stuff I know about is in video games. But one thing I hadn't even considered with the E3 being canceled is all these game journalists are coming out saying the real impact of this is going to, I'm sure this applies to WWDC as well, the networking that happens at these events. Mm-hmm. That you're take E3 for example, you are a small independent developer, you've never published a game before, but you're working on something right now, you're excited about that project, and you can meet people at E3 who might be able to publish that or might be able to just
help with that,
develop interest in help with that in some way, but also just people who want to play the game, and now you've created a fan by meeting them in person. Those opportunities are really possible with these digital only events.
Yeah. So Apple even does a lot of work around accessibility in person at WWDC, where they have accessibility events. People who are actually, the main consumers of these features. Apple is out there doing the networking, doing the talking with them. How can we help, enhance or make better, the operating system for you? And so maybe there's something in the future where I don't know. I guess we'll probably learn between now and June when it happens. But yeah, that's unfortunate. Like they have women developers coming together, the accessibility folks in the accessibility community, and every other kind of every other kind of subgenre of individuals that are making apps for iOS, iPadOS, coming together and be able to meet up. Like they have a group workout at like one morning at 7 a.m. where you can go with other people who are either developers making apps for working out, or it's held by Nike, I think, last time I checked. But that's actually kind of cool. So that is unfortunate.
Yeah, it will return to normal eventually.
Yeah, eventually. Let's shift gears here and talk about the March event, our last topic here. So we don't know. We're kind of, the rumors are telling us, Min-Chi Kuo is telling us, that's who's telling us, that there are probably, on the near-term horizon, we have a new iPhone, something like an iPhone 9, what it's being called, and possibly even new iPads, what we, I think, referenced in the beginning, new iPad Pros. But this event likely to be canceled because of what's going on in the world. So last month or last year around this time, Apple did a whole bunch of new product releases via press release. They sent something out, every day basically of the week. We got like AirPods 2, an iPad Mini, an iPad Air, and maybe even something else. It was a great week. But I don't know, a March event, what do you think about the new iPhone 9, and where does that kind of sit on your radar in terms of not maybe usability, but like kind of appeal to the general consumer?
I think that personally, I have an iPhone 10R. I'm very happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have that for several years at this point. I don't see that changing with an iPhone 9. But I think this iPhone 9 needs to happen, whether it's called iPhone 9 or not. The iPhone SE, I don't even think they sell it anymore, do they? Because the iPhone 7 is now in that niche.
Yeah.
It's in that price point. Yeah, so I feel like they need to get an iPhone at that cheaper price point that's more modern.
Yeah.
And I think that will help them sell more iPhones, obviously. But I'm curious because with this phone, there's a lot of, I guess, contradiction in the rumors of, is it going to be like an iPhone 10R or is it going to be like an iPhone 8? And I feel like it's going to be like an iPhone 8 with some enhancements to it and probably the better chip.
Yeah.
Like an A13 chip.
So single camera, aluminum or glass? I think the question then becomes is, do I have wireless charging or not?
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. I don't feel like it's cheaper just to do aluminum.
Yeah.
And this device is ultimately about cutting costs. And actually, I'll say this. If I were Apple, I wouldn't put the glass back on it. I wouldn't put wireless charging on it. And the reason is that...
Tension.
Because when you are a consumer that is looking for affordability as your primary, you're not concerned about wireless charging. You're not the kind of consumer who's going to say, ooh, I'm going to buy this iPhone, and then I'm so excited to also buy this $50 accessory for it so I can charge it wirelessly on my desk. I don't think that consumer is the consumer who's going to buy an iPhone 9. That's who is interested in wireless charging and buying accessories to get that to work is someone who would put up more money for an iPhone 11 or 11 Pro.
Okay, that's a good point. So probably we're going to see the return of the 5-watt charger, or not the return, but we'll see a 5-watt charger included in the box. Oops, I hit my mic again.
Yeah.
And no wireless charging. I guess that makes sense. So single camera lens, something, we'll probably see the same comparable lens from the iPhone, not the iPhone 10R, but what's in the iPhone 11, I would think, right?
Mm-hmm,
but just a single lens. So,
yep.
And it's going to be LCD, not OLED technology. It'll be LCD, and it's a smaller LCD.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the iPhone 8 is a 5-inch screen?
4.7, so yeah, 5 inches basically.
Okay. And it would have Touch ID and not Face ID.
Yeah.
So it really is different. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was saying, so it's really differentiated by, 1, the size of the phone, 2, the display, the camera quality, or not the number of cameras, and the fact that it doesn't have wireless charging or Touch ID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'll have Touch ID.
Sorry, not Touch ID. I mean Face ID. Thank you.
Oh, Face ID. Yeah.
So I think this is going to sell like hotcakes.
Oh yeah, it's going to do great. And also, if it comes in here's the thing: is it going to come in an array of colors, or be or iPhone with colors on it, or are you going to go for an iPhone 11? That's kind of my big question of like, I don't know.
I think there's colors.
You think there's colors?
I think there's colors because
the iPhone SE had the standard colors of the iPhone. It came in the silver, the space gray, and the rose gold.
Yes, correct.
And the regular gold.
Yeah, but I think that was a time when they weren't doing colors. Oh no, because
yeah.
Wait, sorry, you said the 5S or the 5C? Because the 5C was colors. It was those.
The SE.
Oh, the SE. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were the aluminum colors, and now they have a little bit more experience in. Because the iPhone 11 is aluminum, it's aluminum housing with the glass front back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think colors would make sense, but I don't think it would be the same colors that we see today on the iPhone 11, only because they want to differentiate the phone and
yeah.
But I like the colors. That's just me though.
Oh yeah, they're good. They're good colors. I would like the purple. I like the purple a lot actually, but I wish it was a little bit darker.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you something. Don't at me when I say this, but I loved the rose gold on the iPhone 6 when it came out. Like that was my jam. All my friends were like, what are you doing with the gold phone or the pink phone? I'm like, no, it's rose gold. It looks good. It looks good. Yeah, that's my jam.
I had a rose gold iPhone 6S Plus for about a week because I had the 6S.
Yeah.
And my friend had a 6S Plus, and I wanted to see what the Plus was like. She wanted to see what the smaller phone was like, so we swapped for a week. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't have a rose gold iPhone. I can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
I got to go back to my silver.
It just gives a little bit of variety. It's the spice of life, right? Well, it's like color splash. So here, let's. So we talked about the iPhone SE or SE2 or the iPhone 9, whatever it's going to be called. What about, there's some talk where, we said about the iPads. I don't know, again, if iPad Pros as a new product makes sense at this event. Again, I think it might be coming more towards WWDC, if not the very fall. But here, if you're releasing new iPads, they're not even 2 years old at this point. And I think that, again, I don't know if there's that much demand for a new iPad Pro today. I think at WWC, when you see the new software and how the iPad's going to take advantage of that, I think that's kind of the more appropriate time where we probably get an announcement for iPad Pros. I don't know what your feelings are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that the bigger advancements for iPad nowadays are going to be in the software. They want to align the software announcements with the hardware announcements to make that hardware more appealing. It's Apple does that a lot with iPhones, where like they'll mention a new feature for iOS 14 at the iPhone event. To kind of make the new iPhone, to add bullet points to the list of features essentially for that iPhone.
Yeah.
They definitely do that, and I can see them doing that with iPad as well. I think we talked about this last time, but I think that with the iPad Pro, what's weird to me is that they generally announce a new A series chip with an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to have an A13X in this iPad Pro, or are they going to have an A14 chip and announce that ahead of the iPhone? That would take a lot of the thunder out of the iPhone announcement to not be able to talk about that processor in depth like they usually do. It'd be it wouldn't be like the worst thing in the world, but thinking about that event and them getting on stage and just saying an iPhone 12 has the A14 chip, just like the iPad Pro. Okay, moving on. Like they'd love to delve in the details of that processor in conjunction with the iPhone. Yeah. And it would kind of take that away.
Yeah. So it's a good question. I don't know if they would. I don't know how they'd handle that. What would be interesting, I guess, is to see. It'd be interesting to see, how they go down that path and whether or not the iPad. Wow, the eighth. So today the iPhone has the A13, correct? The iPhone 11
yes.
Pro. It has the A13.
Yep.
But if they're getting a new, some of the rumors are that they're getting micro LEDs, mini LEDs technology. If they have a new display technology and they have to push more pixels around the screen, I think it might be a good chance to use a more powerful processor. I don't know. That's a really good question, though. That's a really good question.
Yeah, the mini LED is also something I'm very curious about. How they're going to pitch that, and mean, OLED's kind of the fad right now. I think there's a chance that we might not see. We're definitely not going to see the iPad Pro in March. Definitely not. Even if they do announce things in March, it's not going to be an iPad Pro. I don't think.
No.
WWDC they could, but I feel like with the rumors of what this is going to be, it's not like this huge, grand announcement. It sounds like it's really just going to be iPad Pro with that new camera, the triple camera lens, maybe the mini LED. Let's just throw that into the iPhone event in the last half of the year. Like, I don't think there's a pressing need to upgrade it right now. I guess is my point, that they could wait.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they announce hardware at WWDC sometimes, but not super often. But again, everything's kind of been, thrown for a loop because of coronavirus, that they're probably going to change their ways. It's harder to predict in that case. I don't know.
Coronavirus is fucking everything up. Pardon my language. that damn coronavirus. Angry fist. Yeah, I guess you're right. So the only iPad I can remember being launched at WWDC was the 10.5-inch iPad Pro in 2017.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if that actually came out with the newer processor or the older processor to the iPhone that year. I'll have to look that up.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Well, other than the iPhone SE2 or the iPhone 9, whatever you want to call it, the iPad Pro, there are rumors that a new MacBook Air with an updated keyboard is on the way could be as soon as next week, but in this time frame of March. I don't know about you. I don't use this is not in the rundown. I apologize. I just saw it a few minutes ago.
No worries.
So the MacBook Air, I think it was 2018 when it was refreshed, right? At the same event the iPad Pro was. It still has the butterfly keyboards, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. A lot of people hate them.
Really?
I don't, but
interesting.
Yeah, I don't type on my MacBook Pro very often. I use the external keyboard, which we talked about, I think maybe the last time.
I guess I'm just more surprised that it would even have the butterfly keyboard in it, as opposed to the new scissor design they have with the new MacBook Pros. I feel like they would transition in that direction. That's surprising to me.
Oh, no. Sorry. I was talking about in 2018 when they updated it, it had the old keyboard style.
Oh, I thought you were saying the new one is going to.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the new one, when it comes out, it's supposed to have the new keyboard, the keyboard switches, which makes sense. I mean, there's also room, I think, for a new processor from Intel in addition to kind of a GPU update. But that would be something that would be interesting as well for that update, for that upcoming week or two at the end of March. From your side, do you know a lot of people that either using the MacBook Air or that are kind of dying to get rid of it and get into something that has a better keyboard?
My dad absolutely hates the butterfly keyboard mechanic. I think he mentions it every time I talk to him.
Nice.
I don't like the butterfly mechanic myself either. I've had a lot of problems with it.
Okay.
But going back to my dad, he actually really likes the MacBook again, like the MacBook with the single USB-C port.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the MacBook Air needs to get smaller like that, and also having the second USB-C port, because having one USB-C port's ridiculous. But I don't know. I don't see a lot of people like talking about the MacBook Air that much.
Yeah, neither do I.
I think it's just like an odd product in the sense that it's called the Air, but it's not the thinnest or the lightest iPad. It's priced very close to the MacBook Pros, the 13-inch MacBook Pros. It's an odd product. The one advantage to it is it has Touch ID.
Yeah.
Without the touch bar.
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of rumors going around. Will Apple move to ARM? And I asked my friend this. So what computers does Apple have in its lineup today that run ARM? And his response was, well, there's none. And I said, what about the iPad? I mean, the iPad runs ARM, right? It's an A-series processor. What if iPad OS eventually becomes, something that is an ARM-based operating system, more like Mac OS, but based on iPad OS? It would give them a lot of day one computers that could run, that are very powerful without necessarily having to bring out a brand new product.
They're also doing that with the, I think they're called the Catalyst apps.
Yeah.
on Mac OS, where you have the same code base for the iPad, the iPhone, as well as the Mac app. And I feel like once that gets wide adoption and it's mature, absolutely, then they can just flip the switch and say, hey, we have this ARM Mac. It's one of those things where I cannot see a future where there isn't an ARM-based Mac in the next few years.
Yeah.
I just can't see it. And the big reason for that, it was two big reasons for that. One, Intel is not reliable.
Nope.
For Apple. They are delayed. They're falling behind on against their competition, and part of their chip competition is turning into Apple because those A-series chips are insane. They continuously outperform everything else in the market by a pretty wide margin when you get to multi-core processes, and that's inside of a phone.
Yeah.
Like the A-series chips nowadays are comparable to lower end Macs.
Mm-hmm.
So if they made a chip specifically designed for a Mac where they can really just let it run and go wild, holy crap, that thing is going to perform like crazy. Think about it'll start small, but like thinking about where that goes in the future with like making Final Cut and professional level apps for professional level Macs with super, super powerful A-series chips and the integration that they could have. I didn't talk to you, Siri. She just popped up. And I just lost my train of thought for a second. And having that deep integration of Final Cut working with an Apple-made processor or just Apple Pro apps working with their processors, the performance gains would be massive. Like they kind of have to do it. And they don't have to worry about things like gaming and that on the Mac. It's not what they're forced. They really focus their ecosystem in a way that I don't think Windows could, even though there are already Windows ARM machines. They have to go in that direction. They have to. Just between Intel not being reliable, the A-series chips being so good, and the benefits of having that level of integration that we've already seen benefited in iPhone and iPad, they have to. They have to. There's no way they couldn't.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that they bring the pro apps from Apple, Final Cut, Motion, Logic to the iPad in some degree or to some extent very soon, because it would just make life easier for a lot of people, I guess. Especially Motion. That would be great. And if you don't know, Motion is their graphics app that Apple produces or develops.
You can do a lot with it.
Yeah.
It's a great app. Powerful.
Very powerful. Okay, cool. Other than that, for a March event, anything else that you want to go ahead and talk through?
Are there any rumors about AirTags?
Oh, AirTags.
The March event?
Yeah, so there are rumors about AirTags. There are rumors about AirTags at the March event. And if you haven't seen the rumors, AirTags are, I guess, Apple's take on location tiles or tiles to find your anything that you put your tag on, whether it's keys, camera, phone, or keys, camera, anything. What I thought would be really interesting is what if the AirTags function as a security fob for two-factor authentication?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like
you're in proximity to that tag, so it must be you.
Yeah, or even if so today they start extending, or they've started extending sign in with Apple to a number of different websites. Excuse me. Wouldn't it be great if, as a two-factor authentication code, you could say, okay, I have my password, and let me touch my security tag to my device to make sure, because I have both of those things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I like that idea a lot. And if you don't have it, then you can use that 6-digit code. But if you have that tag, you can just tap it against your phone. The NFC chip will recognize it, and then boom, you're in.
Yeah.
I like that.
That would be cool. So AirTags has, however it's being coined, has been rumored. It's been, it was supposed to come out last year. That's what the rumor said in iOS 13. But it does seem to be close at hand for AirTags. I have a couple tile trackers, though the batteries died to them, and because with the ones that I have, you had to buy brand new tile trackers. Now they have replaceable batteries, but it is good that the AirTag supposedly will have replaceable batteries. Hopefully they have batteries that you could charge on I'm looking at my wireless charger there, so I did this, that you could charge wirelessly. That would be, instead of replacing the battery, just let me charge them.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because there was I think this is rumored that they're going to be waterproof.
Yeah.
The tags.
Yep.
And they could only do that by having them completely sealed.
Yeah.
And how do you charge it? You charge it conductively.
Yeah.
that would be awesome. But it would bring up the cost, but I don't think it'd bring it up by that much.
Yeah, I don't think so. There's, there's a couple lights that I've seen. They're maybe the size of the iPhone, maybe about half the size, and they're RGB lights. But on the back of them, they're made by Aperture. On the back of them, they have coils to wirelessly charge the lights, so you could charge the light. It's like
Oh, interesting.
yeah, it's actually really cool. Like you'd use it like in the background as a practical for lighting. It's kind of a neat idea. But there are more things that are becoming, that you could charge with wireless charging, and it would be great if these AirTags supported wireless charging.
Yeah.
Okay. So AirTags? Anything else that you want to go ahead and talk about, Holden?
I don't know. We talked about it a lot today.
We did. Yeah, it was a jam-packed stream. Let's see here. Okay. So Holden, tell me where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so I am on Twitter at Respawning Fire, is a podcast I do with my friend Chad. We just started recording all of our episodes, or live streaming our episodes on Twitch every Sunday night at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Eastern time. And then we release them Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
If you just want to listen to audio version of it, you want to see this beautiful face.
Okay.
So I do that, and then I'm just myself on Twitter at Holden DePardo. I don't post that much.
Okay.
I'm not like on Twitter a lot, but if you want to follow me on there, Respawning Fire is the best way to contact me or find me, I should say.
And I think since you're in the kind of gaming arena, some of the content that you post is related to gaming. So if you like gaming, right, Holden is a good resource.
Yeah. I should have mentioned that. Yeah, that's important.
Okay, cool.
Well, it's primarily gaming. We talk about the games we play and then break down and editorialize the gaming news every week.
Okay, so maybe
it's pretty comprehensive, actually.
Is it? Okay, so maybe as just a quick aside, what's your favorite game that you're playing right now?
I've been obsessed with Sekiro lately, like way too obsessed with Sekiro. I am on. Do you know the From Software games like Dark Souls, Bloodborne?
I know Dark Souls.
Okay, they're kind of known for being difficult. This one I couldn't beat last year because it was so daunting. And this year I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to beat this game this year. I've beaten Bloodborne. I've beaten Dark Souls 3. Like, I can do this. Okay. And I beat it, and I've beaten it 4 times. It's the first platinum trophy I've ever gotten on PlayStation because I've just been devouring it, and I can't stop. I've gotten everything in the game, and I still want to keep playing it because it just got really engrossing, engaging combat. It's really, really good. It's like sword fighting, basically.
Okay.
And it really does kind of feel like you're fighting with swords. It's kind of amazing how well they pulled it off.
Cool.
That's the game I've been obsessing about.
When you're done, can you send me the link for it? I'll put it in the notes.
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Holden. Thanks for hanging out today. Everyone, thanks for hanging out in the chat.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Everyone, we'll talk to you later on. Thank you. Bye-bye.